Welcome back to another video. This week, we're going to be shaping the light in Lightroom Classic, mostly using masks, I would imagine. And we're going to be doing this with a photo which is very much bordering on dusk, even maybe moving a little bit beyond that. And we want to make the light a little bit interesting, bring some energy to a little bonfire that's going on, and really hone in on making the feel of this photo the way it felt when I was actually there, which maybe wasn't captured in the raw photo. Let's get into it. It's Tutorial Tuesday. Welcome back to Tutorial Tuesday, where each week and every Tuesday we bring you a brand new, fresh photography tutorial. Let's jump into Lightroom Classic and start editing this photo. Right, now this is the photo that we're going to be working with today. This was taken down on the beach, as you can see, a little bit after sunset. I think it's probably fair to say. Very much had become quite dark by this point. And as you can see, there are some people having a little bonfire on the beach, and I think we can really play with the light in this photo to make it feel much more interesting and get some real energy to that bonfire kind of glow, and just make it a little bit more of an artistic kind of representation of the scene, I think, but only really using dodging and burning with masks. Now, what I will do before we kind of go any further is maybe denoise the photo a little bit. I think if you look in the sky, you can see there is a little bit of noise there that we are dealing with. This was shot at ISO 3200, so that might be the first thing that we do. Let's come down here to the denoise panel and go ahead and just click denoise. It's easier than ever to do this now with Lightroom Classic. All we really have to do is click that, just tick that box, and Lightroom does the rest. Great, there we go. And now when we have a look, that is a nice clean image, but we've still maintained lots of nice detail in the cliff, on the beach. Really does look quite good, actually. Okay, so we can immediately start editing the photo. Let's do a little bit of global editing. That's where we're really affecting the entire photo with some of these sliders. Now, I'm not going to mess around too much with the colors at the moment, because I think what we probably want to do is locally adjust some of that white balance. I quite like there being some blue in the sky like that. Very much blue hour in that sense. Let's bring the contrast up just a little bit. And I'm just going to bring the clarity up and the texture up a touch. And I'm actually going to bring the vibrance up just a little bit as well. I'm going to come down to the transform tab. I'm just going to click auto to make sure that we are dealing with a nice straight horizon. I think that looks pretty good. And actually, that's sort of straightened things up in a way that I quite like. And then I'm just going to come and look at the crop here. I actually quite like this. We can see the whole cliff. So I don't think we need to really do anything into the photo in that sense. Okay, let's go straight into masking now, because I think with the global sliders, there's not so much I want to do. We might come back to them though. We'll see. Okay, let's go ahead and start, I think, with a linear gradient. We're going to bring this up from the bottom, something like, I want to make this nice and feathered, something like this, I think. We're going to go ahead and just darken that foreground a little bit, just to bring our viewer's eye up from the kind of bottom of the photo. We don't need that up there. The next thing I might do is bring in another linear gradient, something like this. And actually, I'm going to right click on that one, intersect mask with, select sky. And what we're going to do is just darken the top bit of that sky there. Look at that. That gives us a really nice kind of night feel to things. Now, is that affecting the cliff there? No, it's not at all, really. So that's no worries at all. That's all good. Great. Okay, I think that actually looks really nice, actually. I like the gradient across the sky like that. Really big fan. Okay, great. The next thing I'm going to do is come in and do a radial gradient and actually pop that just sort of over the fire, something like this. What I'm going to do is just bring the exposure up there. We're going to play around a little bit with the light here. I'm also going to warm this area up quite a bit. We're going to do something like this. I might make this a little bit smaller, something like that. Something like that. Okay, there we go. We've got that feathered to 100%. I quite like that. I might just bring the exposure up a little bit, and even something like the dehaze down just a touch as well. Great. Let's come back over to the global sliders and see what happens if we bring the overall exposure down. How does that feel on the photo? Let's take a look here. Okay, I quite like that. We might come back into that circular radial mask here, just bring that exposure up. We might even want to just gradually build this up. So for example, we could make this a little bigger and a little warmer. Actually bring that exposure down a touch, and then go ahead and do another radial gradient, something like this, smaller, and actually bring the exposure up a little bit more closer to the fire. So we kind of build up that light. I think that actually looks really good. So we've now got this very kind of dark, it feels much more like night. Let's take a before and after. So we can do that with the backslash key on the keyboard. So this is before, this is what the photo looked when we started. This is where we've taken it to. Much more kind of excitement and energy within that fire, which I really quite like. I really like the look of this photo, which is really cool. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look and see what happens if we do a little bit of color grading here with some of this photo. We can come down to hue, saturation, and luminance. I want to bring the hue of that orange just down a touch and the yellow down towards the orange a little bit as well. We don't go too mad with that. The blues I'm going to leave mostly as they are, but the saturation, I'm going to bring the blue up a little bit, and I also just want to bring that orange down just a touch. Down here with the color grading, where we can add a color to different aspects of the photo, I might add a little bit of blue to the shadows, something like that. Nothing too crazy. And then just a little bit of orange and a little bit of orange into the sort of highlights and midtones. Now, again, I don't want to go too mad with adding too much color. Less is more with this kind of thing. But I think that's actually looking really nice. Let's look at before and after again. There we are. That's how we started. That's where we've taken things to. So I really, really like the feel of that as kind of an image there. Now, realistically, I don't think there's actually much more that I need to do to this. The only bit that's slightly bothering me is up in the top left here. I'm going to go ahead and just pop one more linear gradient over that cliff top. Just something like that, and just bring down that exposure. So I want to make sure that that's matching in with the darkness of the sky area as well. But I think that that looks really good. I'm really happy with kind of how that's come out. Let's do one more before and after. Backslash key on the keyboard like so. That's before, that's after. Let's do it before and after side by side as well. You can see a massive difference in just the feel of the photo. And I think just by shaping the light, we've really changed the way this photo feels. We've not even really had to go in that hard with much in the way of color or anything like that. It really just comes down to masks and basically dodging and burning where we want the light to be within the photo. A technique that goes back a hugely long way, much, much further back than using Lightroom, but it's just so easy to do it now with the masks in Lightroom. I'd love to know if there's anything else you might have done to this photo. I think in the past, where I was a little bit more adventurous with adding things, I might have gone ahead and started adding stars to the sky, but actually I quite like it as this kind of slightly minimalist, dark and light photo like this. But I'd love to know if there's something else you might have done to the photo. Let me know down in the comments. And of course, let me know if there's something else you would like to see in a future tutorial. Otherwise, there's a full list of all the kit we use for these photos, for all this stuff, down in the description of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe because there's new content all the time. I'll see you in the next video. But until then, as always, thanks for watching.